Your CV gets about 30 seconds of attention from a recruiter, maybe less. In those 30 seconds, they're looking for specific information. And if they can't find what they need quickly, you've created frustration. That frustration becomes a negative first impression before you even walk into the interview room. I'm Guillaume Debaucher, former British Airways pilot, Emirates captain, and major airline recruiter. I've evaluated and read thousands of pilot CVs, and I can tell you, most pilots approach their CV completely wrong. Today, I'm going to show you the most common mistakes and exactly how to avoid them. Here's the reality of how your CV gets read. At the application stage, it is likely being processed by AI systems first. They're scanning for keywords, checking for basic requirements, filtering the initial applicant pool. But then, right before your interview, around 10 minutes before you enter the room, your CV lands on a real recruiter's desk. This is when a human actually reads it. They are discovering you through your paperwork, forming their first impression of who you are. This is a critical moment. The recruiter is looking for specific information, and they need to find it quickly. Who are you, in a few words? How old are you? What have you done? When did you do it? What major decisions have you made in your life that they can see in the documentation they have in front of them? Are there any gaps that they need to understand? If they can't find this information quickly, if they have to hunt through a mix of bullet points, sentences and icons, or decipher a confusing layout, they get frustrated, and that frustration, it becomes your first impression. Mistake number one, too much detail. That's very common also in the cover letter. Many pilots pack their CVs with excessive information, thinking that volume will impress somehow. This is particularly true with their work experience. They'll detail every minor responsibility, every little routine duty that they were performing that's quite obvious from just the job title. The recruiter doesn't need this level of detail. They need to understand your trajectory, and they need to be able to understand it fairly quickly. Being concise is an art, and you really need to apply it in the CV. When you bury the important information under mountains of detail, they can't find what matters. The idea of a CV is to be concise, to use as few words as possible whilst conveying the necessary information. Example of what not to do. I was responsible for the safe and efficient operation of the Boeing 737 fleet on various routes throughout Europe, ensuring compliance with all relevant regulations and maintaining the highest standards of professionalism and customer service. This is a pilot explaining what they did as a Boeing 737 first officer. The title was enough. This long sentence is just confusing the eye. Was it really needed? Of course not. What does that tell me? Nothing specific that I don't already know. Instead, what you could have is just a title, a date, and a little sentence underneath. 2022 to 2024, First Officer, Boeing 737-800 and MAX series, 800 hours, major European routes. Clean, clear, concise. Remember, the CV is a summary, not a biography. Mistake number two, wanting to impress with an, in fact, confusing graphical layout. Some pilots use creative designs, unusual formats, columns that sometimes even don't line up, icons that create mental load as the mind has to translate these icons into words. It may look impressive, but it makes the information harder to find. Remember, the recruiter is under time pressure just before you enter the room, and they're clearly not evaluating your graphic design skills. They are trying to quickly understand your background. If your creative layout slows them down, it's working against you. It's something I often teach in communication. If it goes against your message getting across, it's a problem. And this is also true of written communication. Clean and clear beats creative and confusing every time. Mistake number three, omissions of things that obviously should be there and that you can't find. Okay, I see CVs missing basic information constantly. No age, no mention of high school education. Come on, that's the basics, okay? Here's what happens. The recruiter has questions they can't answer when this happens. How old is this person? What is their educational foundation? What have they chosen as a specialty, for instance, at high school? Why is there no information between 2020 and 2022? These aren't minor details, these are fundamentals. And when they're missing, the recruiter has to either guess or reach out for clarification, which creates extra work and frustration. And just to clarify one thing here, why do they want your age? Because they will tailor the interview to your life experience. This has nothing to do with age discrimination. What do you think they'll do if they can't find it? They'll compute it from some other data, such as your high school graduation date. Making their life easy is what should guide you and nothing else. Mistake number four, using industry jargon from non-aviation backgrounds. If you're transitioning from another industry such as engineering, or if you're already a pilot but in the military and so the jargon's a bit different, or if you come from a completely different area of business, you might use terminology that means nothing to an airline recruiter. I see CVs full of acronyms and jargon from other fields. The recruiter doesn't know what SSDR compliance coordinator means. It brings no valuable information. Translate your experience into language an airline recruiter understands. Mistake number 5, listing personal qualities or skills. Strong communication skills, team player, detail-oriented, problem solver. These statements can first of all make it look like you lack humility by listing a long list of competencies. Some people even put a star system where there's 5 stars everywhere. Most importantly, they really belong in the cover letter where you can bring more context, not in the CV. Now there's an exception to that. Some airlines ask you to list skills in the CV. Some airlines don't use cover letters, don't want to receive cover letters, and they ask you to list skills in the CV. In that case, obviously, listen to them, adjust your CV format to their requirements, but that's obvious, right? Back to what you should do in general. Now the CV is about facts. What you did, when you did it, where you worked, what you achieved. Your personal qualities and skills should be demonstrated through your cover letter, and in fact, the real area, the real time to mention about your qualities and to actually show them and demonstrate them is in the interview. Both the CV and the cover letter should be just a fertile ground for the recruiter to understand who you are and want to ask you questions at the interview where you will make the difference. So don't waste CV space making claims without evidence or context that you will be able to explain so much better at the interview. So what is the CV actually for? It's simple. The CV is here for the recruiter to have an idea of who you are, what you've done and when, to understand the big decisions you've taken in your life, to see if there are any gaps and get an understanding around those. That's all. Not to impress them with design, not to tell them your life story, not to list generic qualities, just clear, concise, factual information about your professional journey. Now, if you think pilots make mistakes with their CVs, you should see their cover letters. People make even bigger mistakes there. Mistake number 1, making them too long. Cover letters that go on for a full page, sometimes more. Dense paragraphs, no white space. The recruiter sees this wall of text and their heart sinks. Oh my God, I'm going to have to read all this. Your cover letter should be concise. 350 words maximum. 325 words is really good. Some make excellent letters at 300 words. And this is heading included with your address and everything. And if you look at your own letter right now, you're probably going like, oh my God, it's 425 words or 450 words. How am I going to do this? Well, there's a technique to go about that, and actually you will see when you see your letter initially and the same version of the letter much more concise, how much more impactful it is. And making impact is what selections are all about. It's an exercise where you need to communicate well and be influential, and it's also true of what you put in writing. The relevant points, make them clearly, and yes, say it in a way that is short. You know, it is difficult to write something short and impactful. It takes time to write something that really goes to the point and grabs the attention of the reader. Mark Twain said, "I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one." Believe me, your recruiter will thank you for having made that effort, and they will see how much work is behind it because they know. Mistake number 2. Referring to generalities about the airline. Your airline has a strong reputation for excellence and a modern fleet serving destinations worldwide. This could apply to 50 airlines. It says nothing specific. It shows you might not have done your research. If you watched my previous video on the 4 pillars, you know what real airline research looks like. Your cover letter should reflect that understanding. Specific references to their strategy, their challenges, their position in the market. All of this should be evidenced in the cover letter, and yes, this means you need to have a different cover letter for each airline. You want them to pay attention, you want to tell them why you've chosen them. This is what's going to start to move them and want to know more about you and feel that there's a fit already there, at least the seed of a fit, and they will be excited to see you at the interview. Mistake number 3, hardly mentioning why you chose this airline. The entire point of the cover letter is to answer why this airline, why now, why me? But I see cover letters that spend 80% of the space talking about the candidate's background and their life decisions and barely mention the airline and the life-changing choice that working for them will mean. The recruiter already has your CV. They know your background. They don't need to know everything. They need to know roughly what kind of candidate you are, but very quickly you need to explain to them why you have chosen to apply to this airline in particular. The cover letter is where you connect your background to their specifics, where you explain your motivation, where you show that you understand what makes this airline unique in your eyes and why you have chosen them. If you can convincingly tell them that you've chosen them, they will be much more inclined to want to choose you. Mistake number 4. Talking about yourself in too much detail. Again, they have your CV. The cover letter isn't a second CV in narrative form. It's your opportunity to make the case for why you're the right fit for this airline. Focus forward on them, on the role, on the match, not inward, repeating your entire career history, which you will have the opportunity to do in the first part of the interview. The point of the letter, again, is to be short, well written, and to leave them wanting more. Just to recap here, it should start with a little bit about you, of course, but then quickly it should go into why you've chosen them. And then the last part that I just talked about now is about connecting that with competencies that you've built. And at the end, what I like is when candidates will have a sentence that will say that they are on a constant learning path and they can't wait to continue this path with the airline that they've chosen. That's when you have this wonderful opening when the airline thinks, oh, this person seems to have worked on a whole lot of competencies, but they are humble and they're also willing to learn enough that we can train them. You see how well this works? So get the cover letter right. It's often the difference between can't wait to interview this person and wow, do I really have to read this long block of text before they enter the room? You see the difference? So let's bring this together. Your CV should be clean, concise, and factual. It should allow the recruiter to quickly understand who you are, what you've done, when you did it, and what major decisions you've made. Nothing more, nothing less. Your cover letter should be brief, specific, and focused on the airline. It should demonstrate your research and clearly explain why you want to work for them in particular. It should also explain that you are working on certain competencies whilst you're still willing to learn. Both documents should be easy to read, professional, and create the impression of someone organized, thoughtful, and serious about this opportunity. These documents are your first impression. Get them right, and you set yourself for success at the interview. Get them wrong, and you might never get the chance to show what you can do. And if you still get invited, you could be on the defensive from the start of the interview, because if it's poorly researched, the recruiter will dive right into that and start to nitpick a few things from the letter that they will ask you to detail. And if you got your figures wrong, or if you didn't detail something well enough, they will for sure ask you about this at the interview. You don't want that. You want things that are well written so that it's a springboard to your success, not the opposite. We created the CV and Cover Letter course specifically to address these problems. It's included in all of our course packs, or you can get it as a standalone course. We show you exactly how to structure your CV for airline applications, how to write a cover letter that demonstrates real understanding of the airline, what to include, what to cut, and how to present yourself in the most effective way possible. Templates, examples, and detailed guidance. There's a checklist as well. Everything you need to create application documents that work. You can find more information in the description below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss the next one, make sure that you subscribe. Until then, take a hard look at your CV and cover letter. Be honest with yourself. Are they helping you or holding you back? I'm Guillaume Debauché, and I'll see you in the next video.